I think the purpose of that panel is to try and bring together the events of the day and summarise them and then provide the link through to the second day. So the first day is very much about the interplay between competition law, intellectual property and the regulatory environment, and the second day moves a bit more into the pricing and reimbursement side of things, and there's a lot going on in the industry, the friction between, on the one hand, competition law and on the other hand, intellectual property law, and particularly patent law, and the issues that's raising for the industry. So our job is going to be to try and pull some of those issues together, summarise them and provide that link for the second day. I think anybody who's involved in the legal side of the pharmaceutical industry, anybody on the business side should also be interested in this, because a lot of these points have very direct business relevance and will be important to a business person as well as a legal person. And inevitably, anybody who's on the intellectual property side or the regulatory side, all those pieces are in play in this conference, and anybody in those areas should be interested in what we're going to be talking about. So I'm not sure the word exciting is the right word to use in relation to this particular case, but it's the Lundbeck case, I would say, is the most interesting and perhaps worrisome development over the last year for the pharmaceutical industry. If that case is upheld on appeal, then it raises some very important questions for the industry in terms of the interplay between patents and on the one hand, and the protection of intellectual property, and antitrust law on the other. And in a situation where the industry is also already facing very significant challenges in terms of just trying to find drugs at its most base level, it's also now facing some very significant challenges in terms of getting confidence in its ability to enforce patents that it might obtain to protect those drugs. The interplay then, as I say, with antitrust law, whether or not you can enforce them in the way that the industry has in the past. You've then got the risk of drugs not actually getting to market at all, and even if they do get to market and you overcome that hurdle, whether you'll actually get paid for those drugs once you get to market, and the whole issue of pricing and reimbursement and the extra hurdles that are now in play at that level as well. So for me, that Lundbeck case is another example of some of those very significant issues that the industry faces, and will be much talked about, I think, for the next few years. So I think the most challenging part of my job is probably also the best part of my job, and that's the very global nature of the industry. So it's no good just being a lawyer who understands how the legal and regulatory regime works in the UK, but you also need to understand how it works in a comparable way in other territories on a global basis to provide a holistic service to your clients. So that's the most challenging part, because you've got to understand a global situation in terms of intellectual property law and regulatory law and all the other things that come into play, and of course dealing with clients across a number of time zones. But as I say, that's also the thing that makes it one of the most interesting parts of the job. So I've flirted with the idea of becoming a doctor, of doing a medical degree, before I actually went and did a science degree, and then ultimately became a lawyer. But I think I probably made the right decision, actually. I think if I'd become a doctor, I suspect I would have kept the medical negligence lawyers busy, and so I probably made the right choice.